Right now, as hunger spreads among more than 12 million people in the Horn of Africa, a study by the International Livestock Research Institute of the response for Kenya's last devastating drought in 2008-2009, they found that investments aimed at increasing the mobility of livestock herders could be the key to averting further food crises in arid lands in particular. Joining us now from Nairobi is Dr Andrew Mude, who's a project leader of the index-based livestock insurance program at the International Livestock Research Institute. Andrew, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Lerato.
Okay, thanks so much for your time. Let's talk about the drought that we're seeing. We've definitely seen it affect crop yields, but how has it affected pastoral farmers, those who are herding cattle?
Well, Lerato, the drought is hitting areas in which the pastoral livelihood is the key livelihood, and where livestock is the key asset. So in terms of livelihoods, the impact of drought is felt mostly on livestock, and we have, like for example, in northern Kenya already in areas 10 to 20, some areas upwards of 30% of the livestock herd already perishing, and we still have about 2 more months before any expected rains.
This has raised the debate as to whether or not we should be encouraging people to be pastoral farmers, or we should be encouraging them to move into conventional agriculture and crop farming. What's your view?
Well, my view is that we need to remain with investments and increase our investments in the pastoral livelihood. It's got to be noted that pastoralism is a system that has evolved to ensure optimality of the resources in the area. The Greater Horn of Africa, which is in which the drought is being experienced, is 80% arid and semi-arid land. So before you think of moving to crop-based agriculture, you've got to think of some of the investments that are necessary for crops, heavy investments in water, heavy investments in roads, and so on. But as the situation is, already we have up to, in Kenya, it's estimated about $800 million US is the value of the livestock kept in pastoral systems. It's also an important source, the key source of meats that is consumed in the East African region. 90% of the meat comes from that area. So it's very important to actually increase the investments to do 2 things. It's, you see, the situation with drought creates livestock mortality, but livestock mortality can be taken care of with various different interventions. One of the key ones that we're working on right now is providing insurance. It's important to note that livestock is the critical and most productive asset in this area. Right. In other parts of the world, where you have any threats or potential risks to productive assets, what do people do? Right. They insure them, whether it's your health as your productive asset, or it's your vehicle, or your house, or your business, or so on. So we started looking at methods to increase the resilience of these populations to drought by insuring them against the loss of this kind of risk.
How do you value a cow, Andrew? I mean, that's a very simple question, but it's a question that many insurers would be asking. Well,
it's, there are many ways to value it, but the way that would work for a commercial entity would be to look at the market value. I mean, these livestock that are kept in this system, they are markets. They could be improved in their functionality, but the way we and our commercial partners who are offering this insurance product value them is looking at the market value of 1 cow. Right now, 1 cow in northern Kenya would probably be worth about $200, 15,000 Kenya shillings. This is a bit on the lower side due to the emaciation resulting from the drought conditions.
All right, now one of the biggest challenges is making pastoral farming profitable. You mentioned a value of 800 million US being an estimated value of how many pastoral herds exist in Kenya and in East Africa. How do you make that something that you can take to market?
Well, simple. That's why we need investments in the region, and investments that would help support increased production. This value I give you is actually a low estimate given the possibilities. It's an estimate taking into account the current state of the arid and semi-arid lands in these areas which are infrastructure deficient, don't have well-functioning markets, don't have water. The ICT infrastructure in the area is not well. So first and foremost would be investments in the infrastructures that would increase the returns to this livestock and allow them to be able to feed the rest, not just the rest of the markets in the greater Horn of Africa, but even to be able to be exported. As I said, 90% of the meat coming out at the moment comes from the arid and semi-arid lands. So other than those investments, the investments, as I said, in markets, we need more markets around those areas. Of course, those comes with roads. And naturally in the area, the people in these regions, 75% of their income comes from livestock and livestock products. So naturally, even though over the long time you might want to think of a more comprehensive type of investment strategy that allows for diversification into other options, right now it would be imperative to increase the resilience of this population and enhance their livelihood, to invest in these services that would increase the returns to livestock.
Okay, just on this issue, and this is anecdotally, I mean, I remember traveling to Somalia many years ago and found that in Somaliland they had a thriving livestock export business that was connected to Yemen, and they were using the Gulf of Aden. So quite frankly, those networks exist within the sub-region. Why not partner?
Exactly. And so one of the investments actually we need to put in are investments in regulation, in phyto and phytosanitary institutions that will allow for greater trade. One of the reasons in the past we had a booming trade, as you say, with international partners, largely moving up to the Middle East and Northern Africa. But as a result of some diseases that struck and poor regulatory markets at that time, those opportunities were cut. So investments in these kind of systems, investments in standards that would be able to identify and isolate disease when they struck, will allow us to open our markets more broadly and really increase the value of livestock and the impact that it has on the resilience of the population currently being affected by drought.
Well, Dr. Andrew Mude, thanks so much for your time and being with us here today.